Joseph's tears. Life has a way of turning our pain into purpose if we allow it. The story behind Joseph's tears is not just ancient, it is personal. Those tears represent betrayal, loneliness, injustice, and delayed dreams. Yet they also reveal something deeper, that even when people forget you, destiny does not. Joseph's tears were not weakness, they were transformation. They fell when his brothers betrayed him, when he was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, imprisoned, and forgotten. Yet every tear watered the seed of his assignment. His tears flowed not because life was over, but because destiny was under construction. Sometimes we cry because those we trusted broke us. Sometimes the ones we loved the most become the first ones to reject us. Joseph experienced that. But what he never knew was that betrayal was the vehicle God used to escort him toward purpose. Had he not been thrown into a pit, he would never reach the palace. Had he not cried in prison, he would never learn compassion as a leader. His tears trained his heart. Your tears are not wasted. They are the language of your soul. They remind you that you are human, but destined for something divine. Joseph wept when he saw the fulfillment of his dream, because he realized what looked like loss was actually positioning. There are seasons where God breaks you privately before he elevates you publicly. Sometimes he allows tears to flow so that pride is washed out, faith is purified, and character is tested. Joseph's tears became testimony. He forgave the same people who tried to bury him because his elevation taught him that what they meant for harm, heaven translated into good. Your pit is not your ending. Your prison is not your verdict. Haven has a palace with your name on it. You may cry now, but you will rejoice later. The same tears that fall today will one day become the proof that God was working even when you didn't understand it. So hold on, let your tears flow, but don't drown in them. Let them cleanse, not cripple. One day you will look back like Joseph and say, I understand now. The tears were necessary. Tears have a way of speaking when words cannot. They reveal the places inside us that ache, long, hope, and break. Joseph's journey reminds us that tears are not signs of weakness. They are instruments of transformation. When Joseph cried, it was not because he was fragile. It was because he was being processed. His tears were the silent evidence that something inside him was dying so something greater could be born. Every pit he fell into, every betrayal he endured, every injustice he faced refined him. His tears became liquid prayers, shaping his character, softening his heart, and creating depth in him that success alone could never build. You cannot lead with arrogance, bitterness, or entitlement, so tears wash those impurities out of your spirit. When Joseph was thrown into the pit by his brothers, humility was planted in him. When sold into slavery, he wept but learned loyalty and servanthood. When falsely accused and imprisoned, he cried yet learned patience, integrity, and resistance. Sometimes God allows tears because greatness cannot mature in comfort. You do not learn compassion from applause, but from affliction. You do not gain wisdom from ease, but from endurance. Tears strip you, not to destroy you, but to ready you. The human soul is often too rigid and too proud, but tears make us tender. They enable us to feel before we are given authority. Joseph could not govern a nation if he did not understand pain. His tears trained his emotional intelligence. They taught him how to handle power without abusing it. His darkest nights were not wasted. They were classrooms where heaven instructed him. Sometimes people want the coat of favor, the palace of influence, and the position of honor without embracing the process. But blessings without breaking produce immaturity. Joseph's tears ensured when elevation came, he would not forget compassion, nor would he misuse the throne he was destined for. Tears stretch you. They expand the heart so that when destiny comes, you have capacity for it. Without tears, Joseph could have become hardened, vindictive, or arrogant. But pain has a way of softening the soil of your heart, making room for empathy. When Joseph finally stood in authority, he could have crushed his brothers. Yet he wept again, not out of rage, but reconciliation. You cannot respond in mercy if you have never known misery. Joseph learned mercy because life showed him what it felt like to need it. Sometimes we misunderstand tears, thinking they represent loss or failure. But tears are like rain to the seed. They help destiny germinate. They water purpose. They develop strength. When Joseph's tears fell, heaven was shaping his inner world. He was being prepared for conversations he did not yet know he would have, decisions he did not yet know he would make, and crises he did not yet know he would solve. He had to learn endurance in private because he would later hold the survival of nations in his hands. If he could not endure loneliness, he could not carry leadership. If he could not handle betrayal, he could not sit in a seat of reconciliation. Tears were molding him for the magnitude of assignment waiting for him. This is why your tears matter too. Sometimes you think God is silent, but he is sculpting. Sometimes you think you are forgotten, but you are being formed. Joseph wept not only because he was hurt, but because his heart was evolving. Process is painful. Dreams demand tears. Growth demands shedding. The version of you that must rise cannot emerge unless the version of you that is insecure, bitter, fearful, or arrogant is dissolved through breaking. Joseph's development happened not in palaces, but in pits. His greatness was not birthed inside royal chambers, but inside painful chambers of the soul. Some blessings require tears as tuition. Some thrones require heartbreak as entry. Some victories require nights of confusion, anger, and surrender before they unfold. But one day, Joseph's tears stopped being prayers and became proof. Standing in a place he once only imagined, he realized those tears trained him. Had he not cried, he would not understand mercy. Had he not hurt, he would not be able to heal others. Tears made his heart wide enough to love those who wounded him and wise enough to lead those who needed him. So when you face seasons where tears come more than answers, don't despise them. They are sculpting strength in you that ease cannot build. They are teaching your spirit lessons that applause could never impart. God sees every tear, and not one of them is wasted. Like Joseph, you are being prepared for moments greater than you understand now. Someday you will stand in places that reveal why the tears were necessary. You will look back and see that each tear was not breaking you, but making you, shaping you for the purpose that was waiting all along. One of the most challenging truths to accept in life is that betrayal and delay are not always destructive. They are often directional. Joseph's story teaches us that sometimes the very people who hurt you play a role in ushering you into the future you prayed for. His betrayal did not signify abandonment. It signaled alignment. Joseph dreamed of greatness, but dreams do not come alive without disruption. When his brothers betrayed him, he did not realize that the path to the palace was beginning. The rejection he felt was painful, yet it was purposeful. People may push you away, but heaven uses their push to position you. Betrayal cuts deeply because it often comes from familiar hands, yet it is within those wounds that your purpose begins to breathe. Joseph did not reach destiny on a smooth road. Delay became his silent tutor. Every time he hoped for relief and got disappointment instead, something in him matured. Delay teaches patience, but it also tests belief. When Joseph interpreted the cupbearer's dream and asked him to remember him, he probably expected help to come quickly. But help delayed, not denied. The cupbearer forgot him for 2 years. Those years were not wasted. They were shaping the man who would later step into influence. When you have been forgotten, overlooked, or dismissed, it is easy to assume heaven has ignored you. Yet Joseph's life shows a different picture. Delay does not disconnect you from destiny, it disciplines you for it. If Joseph had been released prematurely, he would not be ready. Delay works like seasoning. It deepens flavor. Some breakthroughs take time because the person you must become is still being constructed. Your destiny is too important to be rushed. Joseph's betrayal broke him, but it also began building him. He learned resilience, responsibility, humility, and leadership, not when everything worked, but when everything hurt. Betrayal emptied him of entitlement. Delay emptied him of dependence on people. Joseph learned that no one, not even those who hurt him, could cancel what heaven scripted. Life's greatest teachers are often dressed in disappointment. If you only encountered acceptance, you would never grow. Opposition introduces you to your inner strength. Betrayal teaches discernment. Delay teaches endurance. Joseph needed both. Had his brothers celebrated him instead of despising him, he would have stayed in his father's house, unprepared, untested, and undeveloped. That pit was a portal. That sale into slavery was a shift. What was meant to destroy him relocated him toward destiny. Sometimes people push you out thinking they are removing you, not knowing they are releasing you. Delay is uncomfortable because it stretches time between promise and manifestation. What Joseph saw in his dreams did not match what he saw in his reality. That gap requires faith. It requires trust when evidence seems absent. But destiny does not arrive instantly. It unfolds in layers. Every setback was secretly an elevation. Every injustice was stepping stone disguised as imprisonment. The darkest seasons carry divine choreography. Joseph learned that leadership required loneliness because someone who has never endured isolation cannot guide others with compassion. Betrayal also exposes motives. It teaches who is for you and who is merely around you. But more importantly, it teaches who you must rely on. Humans may abandon you, but heaven will not. Joseph's destiny was never in the hands of his brothers, Potiphar's wife, nor the prison guards. It was in higher hands. Delay teaches you to stop leaning on people for validation or rescue. Joseph reached a point where, whether remembered or forgotten, elevated or imprisoned, his identity did not break. He matured. He understood that destiny is not fragile. It does not crumble under betrayal. It rises through it. Perhaps one of the most powerful moments was when Joseph finally saw his brothers again. Instead of bitterness, he saw purpose. Destiny gives clarity. One day you will understand the necessity of what felt unbearable. Joseph told them that what they meant for evil, heaven meant for good. The pain that was designed to bury him became the platform that built him. The pit did not kill the dream, it activated it. The prison did not end his calling, it positioned him with the wisdom he needed. Betrayal made him wise. Delay made him deep. So when life feels unfair, when people wound you, when timing frustrates you, remember Joseph. What is against you cannot stop what is inside you. You are not delayed, you are developed. You are not betrayed, you are redirected. What feels like loss is often movement. Doors close because destiny is shifting you. People leave because your assignment requires space. Delay forces you to grow into the version of yourself that destiny demands. Your palace is too great for the immature version of you to inhabit. Joseph's life reveals that you do not arrive at destiny accidentally. You are sculpted into it. One day your waiting will make sense. One day your wounds will gain meaning. One day you will see that betrayal could not break you because it built you. Delay could not deny you because it defined you. Destiny has always been working, even when you feared it was gone. Like Joseph, you will realize that every painful detour was actually divine direction, turning you toward the promise written for your life. There is something poetic and powerful about the tears that once broke you, becoming the evidence that built you. Joseph's story teaches us that the moments that made him weep later became the reasons others respected him. Tears sometimes feel like weakness when they fall, but when you rise, they become strength proof and testimony. Joseph went from crying in pits and prisons to crying in palaces, not out of sorrow, but fulfillment. His tears changed meaning. They moved from pain to purpose, from wounds to wisdom. When Joseph finally stood face to face with the fulfillment of his dream, he wept again, not because he was broken, but because he understood the same tears that once represented confusion now flowed with clarity. Healing is revealed when you can cry over the same thing, but with a different heart. Joseph cried when his family betrayed him. He cried again when he saw them restored. Those tears testified that he survived what was meant to destroy him. You never fully appreciate victory until you have walked through valleys. Nothing humbles a person more than remembering where they came from. Joseph's tears reminded him of the journey. The prison walls, the loneliness, the fear, the injustice. And yet here he stood, elevated not by his own strength, but by a divine script unfolding through his life. Tears turn into testimony when your story gains perspective. Joseph's life had many chapters, did not make sense until the final one opened. In the pit, he did not know he was being positioned. In slavery, he did not know he was being trained. In prison, he did not know he was being remembered. When you walk through pain, you rarely see purpose in it. But when destiny manifests, you look back and realize every tear was preparing you for this moment. That is when your tears become a testimony, when what hurt you begins to help others, when what broke you becomes what blesses someone else. Pain refines purpose. Joseph's hardships gave him the compassion necessary to lead wisely. His tears trained him to walk in grace instead of revenge. When given power, he did not become bitter. His tears had softened him into forgiveness. The greatest testimony is not that you survived, but that you survived without losing your capacity to love. Anyone can endure. Not everyone can emerge healed. Joseph's tears bore witness that his heart was not corrupted by the cruelty of others. He became proof that pain does not have to poison character. There is a difference between tears of defeat and tears of destiny. Joseph's story transformed his crying from a language of sorrow into a language of revelation. Once elevated, he could look at the same brothers who betrayed him, see redemption instead of resentment. The prison that once confined him became the reason he could interpret dreams for a king. His story reversed its meaning. Testimony is born when what was once a wound becomes wisdom. You no longer hide your tears. They become part of what you teach, inspire, and lead with. Many people want triumph without tears, progress without pain, influence without injury. But Joseph's testimony shows that tears are often the credential of greatness. Without tears, you cannot relate. Without tears, you cannot understand. Without tears, your rise lacks depth. The most impactful leaders are not those who have escaped suffering, but those who have survived it and transformed because of it. Joseph's tears gave him empathy so he could feed nations, wisdom so he could govern, and humility so he could reconcile. His elevation was not accidental. It was emotional maturity rising through hardship. Your own tears carry testimony inside them. One day you will stand where Joseph stood, looking at something you once prayed for, cried over, or nearly gave up on. You will realize heaven was weaving meaning into moments you thought were meaningless. The tears that confused you will become the tears that confirm you. You will weep again, not from despair, but from realization that what once crushed you actually constructed you. True testimony is not just the victory, it is the transformation. Joseph was not proud of the pit or the chains or the isolation, but he was proud of what he became through it. You can endure tears privately, but you announce testimony publicly when people see the palace version of you. They do not know how many times you almost broke, but your tears remember. Your tears know the nights you wrestled, the days you wondered, the fears you silenced. They become the proof that you did not reach destiny by ease, but by endurance. So don't despise your tears. One day you will speak from a place where those tears become language for others. You will look at someone else who is in a pit and say, I've been there, and you will rise. That is testimony. When the pain that once silenced you becomes a voice that lifts someone else. Joseph's life teaches us that tears are never wasted. They are stored until the day testimony requires them. When you rise, your tears become evidence that victory is possible. They tell the world, I survived, and so can you.